fitness is a lot more sustainable and easier than people think it is, which is why I make fun of fat people so much.
We're saying shame and calling me a piece of shit doesn't motivate me to get more fit.
Well, we need winners and losers. Like being bullied as a man, being shamed, it's a good thing because it stimulates you to change.
So when I was on my weight loss journey and I was like losing weight, the day that I weigh in and it was like the scale read 1 pound over, like I would take those pills that make you shit, literally, to like lose that extra pound to see.
President. Hell, I'd put all of them in a fat concentration camp so they can concentrate on dieting and exercising because being fat is completely...
What is this? This video is a debate between fit and fat people. They have Greg Doucette on the panel, and I looked at the other people and I have seen some of their faces. The only one that seems a bit questionable is Myron from Fresh and Fit, but it'd be interesting to see how this goes on because I feel like Greg Doucette, love him or hate him, he has a crazy amount of knowledge when it comes to fitness. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this video of fit versus fat. Sounds crazy saying that, but yeah, let's get into it.
Our first prompt is, I have felt disgusted looking at a fat body.
When I see somebody who's 500 or 600 pounds, all I can think of is, why do they care so little about their health that they can do this, allow themselves to gain that much weight, knowing it's taken 20, 30, 40 years off their life? I
fully agree. I do believe that not everybody's destined to be like super lean or super shredded or super thin, but when you see excessively overweight people like the 400-500 pounds people, and then you see them on TikTok acting like it's perfectly fine and it's healthy to be that fat, it's really not. You have a lower quality of life, even if they don't know it yet. Because a lot of these people on TikTok and stuff, they're like in their 20s and early 30s. It's not until like 40s and 50s when all the health complications come. So yeah, I don't think it's healthy to be that fat. Now, if you're slightly chubby, to me, it's not that much of a big deal. But if you're excessively obese, I wouldn't say I get disgusted when I look at them unless it's like the extreme. Like when you've seen the ones where their legs are just like full on, then yeah. But like an average overweight person on the street, I don't think anyone's really gonna look at them and get really disgusted.
I've definitely felt disgusted looking at my own body and looking at other fat bodies in my life.
I don't think there's anyone that can look at somebody 500, 600, 700 pounds and not think, wow, what have they done? And not be disgusted. Like, how can you not? I just can't understand.
You can't
nobody
assume that everyone has the same opinion, though, because unfortunately, some people have emotional stuff that happened, traumatic stuff that's happened, so you can't discount and just say, oh, because they're fat.
Boo-hoo, man. You're fat, you made that decision, you live in the best country ever. If you live in a civilized, first world country where you have electricity, internet power, etc., you deserve to be bullied. It's ridiculous to me that we have all these fat people running around.
Even though he's very blunt, I will somewhat agree with him. I don't believe you deserve to be bullied, but I do think you can't use too many environmental factors as the reason why you're excessively overweight. A little bit chubby, maybe, but like excessively, the idea of just comfort eating and thinking that's okay, it's not. It's not a healthy outlet. It burdens other people, not just yourself. So I don't feel like this dude, if he's going to say like traumas what also made him fat, it probably did contribute, but is that the only reason? No, it's because you picked up the food and kept eating it. It's such a tricky one because you want to be empathetic towards them because you don't want to feel like a dick. But at the same point, people that make too many excuses for why they're that big and why they can't change it, you start looking at them sideways. You have to take some accountability at some point. It's like an alcoholic and stuff. There's things that lead them down that path, but then many of them choose to take accountability, they do their steps, and they try and wean it back and get back to like normality.
We are so privileged here in the United States and in the West in general. When I see a fat person, I'm like, wow, you got the gift of life. You got the gift of being in a developed country, and you're a fat POS talking about body positivity on TikTok? No, we need to bring shaming back.
I do believe that. I've made videos on that. I don't use the word shaming. I said stigma, because when we don't have stigma in society, be like anyone can do anything. It allows things to just go out of hand. For example, I originally said it with like the BBLs and plastic surgery. If you had stigma, less people would do it, and these are dangerous surgeries. And I think that does apply to other things. Stigma is important, I think, for a society to run properly. If you just let the floodgates up for everything, people just start pushing the gates and they start doing the most wildest things ever because it's a free spirit realm.
Sluts, we need to shame fat people, we need to shame everybody when they fuck up. Because shame has been one of the strongest defenses against degeneracy and...
Kind of what I was saying.
Yeah, so I did an experiment back in like 2015 where I like bulked for like almost 2 years and I got up to like 250 pounds, and then I dieted down. It took me about 7 months. I systematically did it, controlled my calories, tracked my macros, tracked my protein, carbs, fats, and systematically lost 1 to 2 pounds per week.
So you chose to gain up to 250.
Yeah,
you were
so
naturally
I've been in all
beforehand.
spectrums. Like I'm naturally skinny.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna get fat as an experiment.
Yeah.
Did it, and then I was like, all right, now I'm gonna lose the weight.
People talk about this like there's trainers that have gained weight and then been able to lose all the weight. It's not exactly the same as someone that's naturally more genetically predisposed to be being fat. For example, if you're someone that naturally is a thin person or someone that's naturally fit, you understand and know you have the capability to get back down to what you was. And so when you put in the genetics as well, some people may predispose to be a little bit thicker, it becomes a little bit harder. And then the fact that they don't know how to potentially stick to it or have the mindset or fortitude to continually stick with the calorie deficit. That being said, I do believe that every overweight person, if they put their mind to it, can lose weight. I've had many clients that have done it, but it's not as easy as if, for example, if I gain like 300 pounds, I'm pretty sure if I bulked up to my heaviest of clients' weight, I could probably lose all the weight before them, because I know and I believe in the system that works. Many overweight people truly believe that no matter what diet they do, they're not going to lose weight. And it's because they follow something for like 2 to 3 weeks. They don't see as much progress as they wanted and they quit.
Let's bring in the disagreeers.
You are passing judgment on people who lack the tools to do what it is that they need to do to get themselves to a certain point of health. There are multitudes of factors. Even if they work out, losing the weight does not come as simple as just going to the gym, cutting calories, watching everything that you eat. There are some people that have a disposition. I have a disposition that you know nothing about. Now, on the flip side, what if I turned around and I did the same thing to you? You're over there and you're small as compared to these other guys.
They have different goals.
That people want to always make excuses. You can watch your calories, you can go to the gym, you have time to do it. People just like to make
Or you
excuses.
can train at home.
I don't think anyone's debating that weight loss is impossible here. I think the question is, why do you hate fat people?
I'm not going to go ahead and give the same level of respect to someone who's a fat ass to someone that has worked really hard and diligently on their physique.
Next question.
Jacked men are more attractive than fat men. Will the agreeers please step forward?
We're living in a bizarre world. How is it possible? Being obese and unhealthy is more attractive than being fit and healthy. How is this possible?
I think the world is somewhat kind of alive with this. For example, many women, you know, the thing that say, dad bods, love dad bods. I know many girls and you say I love dad bods, and then pick out someone that they think is a dad bod. It's not. It's someone that's muscular, but just like not super low body fat. So the body fat for a man would often be around like 15, maybe 18% body fat, but they still had the muscular frame. Whereas if I pointed out like real dad bods like Seth Rogen in the past, and they were like, hell no. So I do think it is kind of like a tricky one. A lot of people will say that they like dad bods and more meat on the bones, but they don't in reality. I think where it lies is if you're talking about athletically muscular, like a swimmer or a track person, that sort of slim muscular build, I think the answer is clearly yes. Now, if it's like a super muscular, ripped, massive dude, like Phil Heath levels and Ronnie Coleman's, that can get to the point where people will say that's disgusting. Like I've seen women say, yuck.
Well, I can 100% admit, like, there was probably 40 pounds of muscle ago is when most women would be, like, attracted to me. Of course, like, fitness girls,
Facts.
they're totally okay with the size I am. But, like, probably
Regular
most
girls
girls, I'm, like, too much for. So I guess, like, where do we draw that line of, like, I think, for example, like, you would be much more attractive to most women than me.
So growing up, wasn't too confident in myself, and I gained that confidence when I started losing weight. And I noticed it was me putting myself in positions to get more opportunities with women. The confidence came from me losing weight. So I do agree that it's a subjective kind of standpoint, but socially I understand that physically fit men, that's just like what...
Then why didn't you sit down?
Our society definitely finds jack guys more attractive, but I disagreed with the statement because it was a blanket statement.
The next prompt. Body positivity movement is problematic.
Now it is. Before they step forward, I'm hoping the majority they will, but I'm feeling they won't. Body positivity, initially, I was all with it. It's all about like loving the skin you're in and basically loving your body and bettering yourself, whether that means getting in shape, going for walks, loving yourself mentally, all that shit. Beautiful stuff. But then all this fat acceptance stuff kind of leaked in. It became one thing. Like body positivity was meant to more be about like people with deformities. But once all this like accepting that you're 600 pounds heavy and you don't need to ever think about losing weight because you're healthy, once that attached itself to it and it became almost the leader, it kind of went downhill.
Obviously, you should be comfortable in your body, and if you genuinely love how you look, great, but you can't ignore your health. Being someone who's overweight, I know people that, you know, that are my size or bigger, and they have cholesterol problems, heart problems, diabetes. So the body positivity movement becomes a problem when you hide behind this shield of, oh, I should love my body, da 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 da. Great, but you have to be healthy too. You can't ignore your vitals.
Yeah, I think the big thing is you have to separate the health implication with you just being confident, right? But I think the problematic part really comes down to people extrapolating body positivity, shaming a celebrity like, let's say, Adele for losing weight, right? That's where I would kind of draw the line there.
Or promoting Lizzo. making fun of Adele for losing weight, but promoting Lizzo for being a fat ass.
One thing I don't really like is that Myron specifically calls them a fat ass to degrade them. I know that Myron believes in like the shaming thing, but I don't really think it helps. It doesn't add to the story. It just makes him like a dick. You can just refer to him as overweight or being fat. Like even though the word fat, I feel like it's still kind of rough. I know that they try to reclaim that word. So yeah, just call him fat, but call him a fat ass. You are purposely trying to bring him down.
I think the thing around Lizzo is it's not just the weight, it's the lifestyle. You like see her drinking all the time and partying and not sleeping. There's like so little to do with health. It's not just she's promoting like loving yourself, which I think is great. She's promoting a lifestyle that is unhealthy, like being very overweight, drinking, not sleeping. All of these things are not conducive to your health. So I think you conflate that, and sure, being body positive is important, like loving yourself, loving the way you look. But if that's gonna influence other people to make bad decisions about their body and their health, that's problematic.
Body positivity is disempowering people. It's making them think that they're healthy at any size, which they're not. And so as soon as you start telling people, hey, just love your body, like Lizzo will literally rub her belly and said, you're giving me a
If you ain't seen that clip, I'm gonna whack it here. When I saw that video, I made a whole video on it myself.
I love you so much. Thank you so much for keeping me happy, for keeping me alive. Thank you.
She rubs her belly, like full on massages it in, saying, I love you, you are worthy, and talks to her belly. It's flipping cringy as hell. In the comments, everyone's saying love eyes and oh my God, queen, you slay, slay, slay. It's not fucking healthy. You know what I mean? You can love your body, but I don't believe for a second you're rubbing your super obese belly and talking to it as if it's a real person. It's cringy.
There's a misconception because there are those people that they use it to justify fatness. I don't even want to say fatness. I want to make it very clear, unhealthiness. When I expressed the desire to lose weight, another plus size individual that I used to be friends with was just like, well, I don't feel like I can share your content because I'm not sure how my followers are gonna perceive this. I think it might be triggering for them.
But now all these people on Instagram and TikTok with the body positivity movement are lying to themselves. They're not happy where they wanna be. They just accept that because they're too lazy to make a change.
I personally, again, I'm not super online, have not seen anybody pro-obesity ever.
Lizzo.
Oh, there's a bunch, dude.
There actually are many on TikTok specifically that actually do promote being obese.
I am very fat and very sexy, and I am 100% glorifying obesity, and there's nothing you can do.
They've even made like a list of dumb stuff. Like I remember one of them was, if I got hit by a car, I'm more likely to survive because the fat would help cushion the blow. They have many coping mechanisms, so it definitely does exist. To say that there isn't any, that's a lie. On TikTok, they are very vocal. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, a good bunch of those people have actually started to die because as they've got into like their late 30s and 40s, you know what I mean? The body can't keep up with that amount of weight.
See, here's the thing. There's a bunch of fat influencers that push this body positivity situation, and a bunch of them are dead now. No one talks about that. That didn't hit mainstream news.
Do you think just being in a fat body and being in the public space encourages obesity, just flat out?
Yes.
If you have overweight parents, the likelihood that you have an overweight kid is significantly higher because it's the environmental factors. Now, do I think a fat celebrity would influence me? No. But I can see if you are someone that's slightly chubby growing up and your favorite celebrity is also overweight, I can see how that would enable you to potentially not want to change anything. But I do feel like the home is the biggest factor. If you're in a household where they eat good, they haven't necessarily got to be a gym family, but if there's someone that kind of, you know, relatively walks and stuff like that, you will naturally take up the idea of going for walks. Then there's like the secondary factor, you know, socialization, which is like the school, friends, and TV, celebrities. It does have an impact on society in general. If you constantly see it, you get normalized to it with everything. You know what I mean? Like when they're putting smoking on TV, that was influencing other people to smoke. So if you consistently put people on TV that were like in shape, like when I was younger, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Sylvester Stallone, all these sort of people, they had me in the living room doing fucking push-ups and all sorts. When I started watching Dragon Ball Z as a kid, Goku doing all that stuff got me into doing weights. Literally, if it wasn't for Dragon Ball Z, I'm almost saying I wouldn't be in shape now. Because that, as a childhood, watching that throughout all my childhood and teen years, kind of got me into wanting to exercise and train. So I do believe media does have an impact. As the more I'm saying it now, is the more I'm convincing myself that it does. So yeah, I guess it does. It does.
Influencers that promote gluttonous, lethargic lifestyles, which a bunch of them do. That's what we're talking about. If you're in the gym and you're fat and you're getting after and you're documenting that, that's fantastic.
Fitness culture can be toxic.
Yeah, it can. It can, definitely.
Let's hear from the jacked guys.
100%. I think you can perpetuate so many themes that are so unhealthy. Like there's so many images online of people that post in like the best lighting with a pump.
So when you swipe on Instagram, you're being shown the top 1% of the top 1%. They all have a six-pack abdominals. Everyone feels inferior. There's
That is true. I always say to people, if you go to like food shopping every single week, look around that supermarket, how many times you see people that look like the people on Instagram on your explore page? Very, very few in terms of men or women. You just don't see them on average. Maybe if you're in like maybe Dubai or LA where they congregate in like one section. But in reality, for the most part, if you're in a normal city, you don't see people like that. So don't compare yourself. I've had too many teenagers about 18 say, I want to look like XYZ to stand out. And I'll say to them, where do you live? And they'll tell me, I'll be like, every time you go to the store, how many people do you see that look like this picture you've sent me? And they'll often say, well, nobody. And I'll go, well, that's the whole point. To look better than the average person, you only have to train for like maybe 6 months to a year, depending on your starting point, and you will naturally look better than the average looking person. The average person technically is actually overweight.
I think the issue comes from the misinformation, just the lack of keeping things simple. But, you know, we like to have fad diets, go paleo, go vegan, go whatever it may be. And it's like, the reality is the best diet is the one that you can adhere to. And I think we need to let people understand that fitness is a lot more sustainable and easier than people think it is, which is why I make fun of fat people so much, because
He's going so
when it comes to numbers and tracking your calories and being disciplined and going to the gym. This is why I have no sympathy for fat people, because it really is simple.
But that right there,
shouldn't it do the opposite though?
No, no one wants to be told they're a piece of shit.
I would never, ever take advice from you to get that advice or to gain that knowledge because of whatever this disposition it is that you have going on, right?
What's the disposition?
He knows exactly what he's talking about. If you're trying to help somebody, if you talk down to them and belittle them, it's not going to work. Like I have clients and I'll ask them sometimes, what do you respond better to? Tough love or like just not coddling, but like, do you need more support? And some people say like just pure support, just like back me up and just keep me accountable. And some people say, to be honest, I need that kick in the ass sometimes. And the reason I ask that is because sometimes if you hit with tough love, they may just shut down from it and then just close down. So you just kind of know who you're speaking to. If someone does not deal with tough, honest answers, you have to like basically put the medicine in the candy. You have to do a soft approach and try and teach them without having to let them know that you're teaching them. So that dude is right. Tevin is right. If you talk to someone or a client like act like they're an idiot or talk down to what you mean to them, fat shaming them into in shape is not going to work for most people. Like, you shouldn't. Like, the tough love and fat shaming aren't even the same thing. You know what I mean? Tough love is more just giving them real honest answers, but just without a lot of the sugar. You know what I mean? So, Myron, I already thought it was weird Myron being on this panel anyway. He has fitness knowledge, but the way he raps it is just so dickhead-like. But I guess they got him for content reasons. But if they replaced Myron with any other fitness person probably in the space, it probably would have been better.
I wouldn't even enable it toxic, but I think it's like, you have this perspective about the world around you that I think is kind of really warped, and I don't understand why, and I would like to understand why.
So here's the thing. You operate on what's ideal. I operate on what's real. The reality is that the people, and if they don't get to know you and talk to you and have a conversation with you, they're going to assume certain things. That's just the world that we live in. The reality is the world's never going to see you how you see yourself. They're going to see you on how you display yourself to them.
That is true.
Out of shape.
This is the thing about Myron. The stuff he says technically is like 80% true, but the way that he coats that shit.
Coming from whether the fitness space can be toxic or not, the shame attitude has kept a lot of people out of it. I've been doing fad diets since I was 12 years old. I was put on Weight Watchers. I did Atkins. I did paleo. I did everything you could possibly imagine. And not until I started following other influencers that were more proactive based on, I want to be around for my daughter for as long as I possibly can be. I want to give my body the function.
I had this overweight dude come to me, he was like 400 pounds. And the main reason he came to me was his doctor said that they're having trouble having kids. And he's more or less said that you need to get down the weight because that will help. And that was his motivation. So it's not always technically, I want to lose weight for me. It will be for others, like people around you being there to see them grow up. And in his case, you know, to actually conceive. So yeah, there is more to it than just like, I want to look good. Most people technically, like for me personally, is I want to look good and be functional. Like I want to be able to be agile for when I have kids. And when I first started, it was simply, I want to look good. As I've gotten older, I want to be able to be a fit dad because my dad was fairly active with me growing up. And I've seen some of my friends' dads as I was growing up, they could barely move. So I do feel like you have a different bond when you do that. So if anything, any of you watching that may be overweight now that are probably thinking you don't want to change, just think about that. That's a good, in my opinion, reason to start getting in shape. You ain't gotta be Mr. Olympia, but just be functional. Be able to like run down the street and back without having a heart attack.
Like just that basic mind shift, and kind of approached it with more of an empathetic way of being, that it seemed attractive to me at all to be a part of it.
Does anyone here respond positively to shame?
I do. Even though I do say fat shaming typically doesn't work, it depends on the person. But if you're with your boys and one of you starts gaining weight and they make that joke, like the little kind of random do, like, yo, you're packing on a little bit of timber, or you're looking a bit thick, that kind of stuff does motivate your brethren just to get into shape. I remember once, so I was out with one of my boys and they made like a joke about the weight. And it's one of those things that you don't realize you're packing on weight when you're at uni, just eating whatever. And when they said it, I was like, yo, I was like, shit. And that's how man them like tell each other. It's kind of different with like women though. For example, I know girls, I'll ask their friends like, oh, am I getting fat? And they'll say, no, babe, you look great. They're not even really giving a real answer. They're just parroting what they know you probably want to hear to be supportive. But with the man them, they'll be much more blunt, but in a funny way. But it will let you know like, oh, you need to get back on your shit. So the man them will be like, I don't know, you know, the belly looking a bit big. And that'll be it. And that'll be enough for you to go, yo, fuck it, and we're going to hit back gym. And we'll probably do it together. That is the kind of vibes that like men typically have. So that technically is a fat shame, but in those type of, with men anyway, it's almost normal. In parentheses, with straight dudes, I don't know if gay dudes have the same sort of thing. I know with straight dudes, like that'd be like a thing that happens often. Like white, black, any race, I've heard of that happening. We don't cry about it. It's just kind of, it's kind of like a funny joke and then we kind of crack on. So yeah, there are aspects where it does technically help. But if you're going to a fat person, just start calling them names to get in shape, that's never going to work. Never. Well, rarely.
I'll speak on the shame thing too, because the shame that I guess embodied came from myself. So when I was on my weight loss journey and I was like losing weight, the day that I weigh in and it was like the scale read 1 pound over, like I would take those pills that make you shit, literally, to like lose that extra pound to see.
People don't realize that the scale fluctuates throughout the week so many times. Like if you weigh yourself every day, it goes up and down various things. Like people forget that there's more things on your body than just body fat. The main thing that makes it change the most is water weight. So the food you eat per week, saltier foods make you retain water. So you, even though you haven't gained fat, you've gained body weight on a scale. Not going to the bathroom, not pissing enough. Things like that fluctuate your weight so simply. So I always say to like clients, you don't watch the scale. That's my job. I'll know based on the food you're eating and how you train and how your performance is, whether we're getting true fat gain or anything. If there's peaks, I'll know. For example, because our check-ins typically on a Sunday, every so often, the odd person may go out on a Saturday or something, which is going to spike their weight come Sunday. So I know in my head, if the weight scale goes up and I look at their food log and I say, oh, you went out to Nando's on that day, that's probably what's caused it. No, don't even think about it. Boom, crack on. But to them, they see that extra 3 pounds up and they think they actually have gained 3 pounds of fat. So it's a misconception, but many people still hold it.
For sure. I think shame is good. I think it's a very natural response to inadequacy. And like being bullied as a man, being shamed, it's a good thing because it stimulates you to change and make a better difference most of the time.
But some people don't respond. Like some people, when they get shamed, they get shut down. And now they proceed further to bridge that gap.
That's a part of the masculine journey, is overcoming adversity.
It's not a talk of masculinity, bro. It's
and
just
not
like
being a pussy and being like, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. And this is the thing, it makes or breaks you. Not everyone's going to win. We need winners and we need losers. The losers are the ones that shut down like, oh, I'm sad now.
The thing about Myron, he loves talking about bringing things back to masculinity, but I think a very masculine trait is hearing someone else's side, allowing their points, if they have logical merits, to then analyze them and then potentially reevaluate whatever topic you have or whatever thought you have. You shouldn't just then go, my thought is my thought and I'm the man, so I'm going to stick with my thought. You can definitely be malleable. Like if someone brings up a very good point in a debate, you can accept it and say, you know what, you're kind of right there, or I didn't think about that. He literally, I don't even believe he truly listens. I think he talks to reply. And no matter what you say, even if he does have logical merits, he'll just bullet past it because he just doesn't believe it. He's one of those people that you wouldn't want to debate with because he will not acknowledge when he's wrong ever. He'll just find some varied example and just try and maneuver out of it. So people like him, I personally feel like shouldn't be on debate platforms because they're not really open to having their opinion challenged and thinking about it, they'll just say no. And I don't think it really adds anything to it.
I'm gonna continue eating ice cream. Okay, you're a fucking loser, stay over there. But there's guys that rise up to the challenge and say, you know what, I'm gonna do better, I'm gonna fucking surpass you. And that's where guys need to be. You need that killer instinct where you use that as fuel.
And we're saying shame and calling me a piece of shit doesn't motivate me to get more fit.
Well, we need winners and losers.
No.
We need winners. Inevitably,
catering
there's
to
going to
the
be
people,
losers. If you
correct?
don't respond favorably to shame and bullying, etc., and you don't overcome it, you're effectively a loser.
Sure, there's gonna be junctions along the way. Like, I'm a coach. There has to be tough love. Like, if you're not doing the things you're supposed to be doing, I have to be a little bit harder on you. But that's not gonna start your journey, me being like, you're a fat piece of shit. Whereas, like, if we get into it and we're 3 months in and you're not making progress because there's a lot of things you're not doing that we're coaching you on, then of course there's gonna be some tough love. There's gonna be some extra accountability.
Tough love.
But I think there's a difference between accountability and tough love than just like shaming somebody into doing something.
I would not like to be on the other side.
I would not like to be on the other side, as in like muscular people wouldn't want to be fat. Realistically, everyone in the muscular side should sit down. I would have thought that all the standing people should stay up.
I've been fat, I've been skinny, and I've been in shape, and I will pick being in shape every single time. Just like if you have someone that's rich versus someone that's poor, they will pick being rich every single time. And the thing is that most fat people, not all, but most, have never even seen their abs. They've never seen what their body is capable of. They've never been actually happy with their physique. And once you get that taste, you're never gonna wanna go back. And then on top of that, you're gonna wanna go ahead and tell all those fat asses that you were once friends with, you need to get in shape. This is awesome.
Literally, what I said earlier, the topic is saying diamonds, the gem, wrapped it in shit. And because he's wrapped it in shit, no one's gonna wipe it off to see what's underneath. He just look at Tevin's face. Tevin's face is how I feel when every time Myron speaks, because what he's saying for the most part is so damn true. But then he just wraps it in some bullshit and makes people not want to agree with his topic. It's one of the worst people in a debate because you have the right mindset in terms of the main core
if I was
argument. But then you
Hell,
just
I'd put all of them in a fat
ruin it
concentration
to the
camp so
point
they
where
can
no one wants to
concentrate on
agree with
dieting
you.
and
So it's
exercising
like,
because being
do you
fat
just want to
is
be the bad guy for
completely-
the sake of it? It
Why
doesn't even
is
make
he
any
so-
sense.
We coddle fat people, we coddle idiots, we coddle morons, and we don't hold anybody accountable, and we allow mediocrity to strive in the West.
Oh,
And I think,
Tevin,
we need to
you
go
have
back to
grown on me,
shame.
my favorite.
I mean, if I was president, hell, I'd put all of them in a fat concentration camp so they can concentrate on dieting and exercising because being fat is completely.
What is he saying? If I was president, I'll put them in a fat camp, no, a fat concentration camp. Bro is flipping lost. Like, I believe everyone should ideally try be like fairly agile, fairly fit. You ain't gotta be muscular as hell, but putting them in fat concentration camps is like a rule. This guy's different.
Not acceptable. I'd have these people
Teddy's face.
back in shape because what people don't also understand is that fat people bring a big burden on the healthcare system.
They do,
Obesity, diabetes, heart disease, etc. It's a big problem. But let me be clear. I'm talking about a concentration camp where they're concentrating on diet and exercise.
So I wouldn't necessarily want to go from one extreme to another. I also would not want to be spewing out stuff just to hopefully get a viral clip.
So if you could
You know-
snap your fingers and look like any of us, would you not do it? Like, would it
I'd
not be worth
probably
it?
choose to look like Tyler.
I knew that they would say that. If they had to pick, I knew they wouldn't want Coach Greg's physique. I knew they wouldn't want, damn, the super muscular dude, I forgot his name, sorry. But Tyler, I had a feeling would be the most, I feel like if Myron wasn't such a dickhead, he would have said Myron, because Myron's also tall. Because Tyler himself, his physique's great, but very few men want to be that short, because it is pretty damn short. Like, I'm 5'7", I would not want to be 5'4". I wouldn't even want to be 5'6". So yeah, I 100% in terms of physique wise, I feel that most people, not just him, like regular people, if they had a choice, I feel like they'd probably go with Tyler.
So here's the thing, man. Like,
Myron, don't speak.
if you want to be an anomaly and you want to be the trendsetter, you want to be the top guy, you got to be able to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Very true, but that's not what you need to get in shape. As in, like, if you want to be Mr. Olympia, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. If you just want to lose weight and look fairly fitter than what you once was, you don't have to be uncomfortable. You can do it in a sustainable way. He mentioned earlier that you can lose weight sustainably. Now he's talking about the top 1% men. Dude, Tevin or any of these other dudes don't want to be the top 1%. They just probably want to be closer to a normal body fat level. Now he's going to model it up with some whole alpha male red pill stuff. But in reality, what he's saying now probably won't even apply to people in this room.
How would you deal with the obesity problem?
As someone who creates content online, I share what it is that I do in the gym. I share my routine. I talk about like, hey, today was a shit day, but guess what? I pushed past that and I just benched 405. That's more than I weigh. When I want to hang out with friends, if I know that my schedule does not allot me that time, but I know that I have this time during the gym, I'll tell my friends like, hey, pull up with me.
So you're inspiring others.
Yes. Most of us have blatantly told you that shame didn't really work. Shame is what led me to an eating disorder. Shame is what led me to unsustainable weight loss.
When the overweight person is kind of, I want to say, because Myron is technically saying somewhat truthful things at points, but when the overweight person is sounding more based in a conversation about being in shape than you know you're not doing good.
Let's bring in our disagreeers.
Well, I probably wouldn't go extreme like on your side of the spectrum, so that kind of stuff. But I would like to look like Tyler.
Everyone wants to look like Tyler.
Tyler's the ideal for me of what I want to look like. But I mean, I wouldn't be that short too. But
I knew he was gonna say that. Literally, they wouldn't want the height of Tyler because he's 5'4", but they don't want to say Myron because they all hate him. So, because realistically, they could have just said, "I want to be more like Myron. He's slim, he's tall." But because he's such a dick, they don't even want to give him any sort of praise.
Next prompt is, your physique is in your control.
Interesting. I truly believe it is, mostly. There's other factors, genetics, mindset, trauma. There's a bunch of things, but at the end of the day, you pick up the fork. Genetics may have you potentially be predisposed to being a little chubby, but if the size of these people, I don't think it's genetics.
My weight had built like a cage around my mind, and it got to the point to where I had someone tell me like, dude, you're gonna die. And that hurt, you know? And I think one thing we haven't mentioned is accountability.
I think that's the biggest thing. When I was growing up, my weight was always blamed on someone else. I was like, oh, it's my parents feeding me too much. And it's like, you can close your mouth. Like, I don't have to eat, you know? But when I finally made that change in my head, I realized it is your choice. I am where I'm at now because I made a series of wrong choices.
I mean, you deserve to be depressed if you're fat. I mean, the reality is that, see, depression is a very healthy.
Why do they keep letting Myron talk? Myron loves to talk. On his own podcast, fair enough. Dude, the moderator needs to just say, Myron, for the rest of the thing, just don't say nothing. We get where you stand. You're going to say some outlandish, crazy shit. Cool, just stop speaking. I want to hear the other people speak. I want to hear the chubby ascot dude speak. I want to hear Greg speak. I want to hear other people, basically just not him. Even Tyler. Tyler hasn't spoke that much. I wonder what the comments on this video is like. So if we quickly take a break and look at some of the comments, you can see that a lot of people didn't like Myron being there too. Myron being on middle ground is hilarious. He has no interest in middle ground or any conversation, which is very true. But most of that, he's just been very confrontational and didn't really add much. But yeah, basically most of the comments, for the most part, either saying that the big hench guy called Eric was very nice and friendly, and that's how most gym people are, or it's just people talking about Myron being a bit of a dick.
When you're a man, you got to go out there and produce. We're not women where we can just coast on our looks and make it through life. The reason why you feel depressed, and it's a healthy response to you being fat, is because it's your body telling you like, wow, what are you doing? You need to fix this. You're sad because you're not going out there and accomplishing what you're supposed to do. It's your masculine duty to make money, to be successful, to lose weight, to be strong and fit, so that you can protect and provide for the people that you love.
Have you experienced depression?
I've had times where I've been sad and stuff, but I always get over it.
So you shouldn't speak on it then.
I think that's very insensitive people who actually have mental health disabilities.
Depression most of the time is not real.
This is not exactly what he said, but I do believe many people claim depression when they don't have it, because I think people get confused between feeling depressed and suffering with depression. I don't feel like you being sad or potentially depressed because something bad happened to you for like a week or something. For example, a family member dies and you feel depressed or sad for like a week or two. That is normal. I wouldn't say you're suffering through depression unless that lasts for like multiple months upon months, like back to back. And I think that is where I would say the gray area. I don't know if that's what he fully means or if he just doesn't believe in it, but that's what I think. I think many people are definitely just depressed, but they aren't suffering with depression, as in like clinically.
A lot of the times when people are depressed, it's because of their own inadequacies. There's always going to be exceptions, but I'm speaking generally in this context of being fat and why you were depressed. It's because
that wasn't the only reason why I was depressed, but go on.
Okay, but it's a component. You know what I mean?
It was a big component.
It was a response to your inadequacy as a man.
Has anyone here ever felt like they didn't have control over their body or their physique?
There's times where I felt like I didn't have the control I wanted, but there was never a point where I'm like, this isn't within my ability to do.
Yeah, I think we all go through stages.
Some people who are overweight, are they going to the gym? Are they putting the fork down? Are they doing the things they need to do? If they spent 14 hours a week doing cardio and eating healthy, they would lose the weight. I spend 14 hours a week learning Spanish, even though I am horrible at it, but I'm trying my best. And if everyone else tried their best, we wouldn't see anyone morbidly obese on this planet.
So I've started a fitness journey. So I go to the gym. Doesn't matter what things that I have going on after work, I go. But again, going back to assumptions, you looked at me and you made assumptions about laziness, about not caring about my health and things like that, when that's the complete opposite. I reached out, I got myself a trainer because I was like, I can't do this alone. And I told him straight up, these are the things that I want you to work on with me. I want to work on building mass, losing weight, but most importantly, consistency.
I feel like the word building mass probably wasn't the right term. I think it means building muscle specifically. But yeah, because when you're big, you shouldn't be thinking of like bulking. But if it just means building muscle while losing fat, then yeah.
Health is still super important to me. That's why I still work out, still lift, still do cardio, still hike, still bike, still do all those things. The amount of time I've had to spend in the past to get to that isn't worth it in my daily life.
I feel like what's sustainable is different for everyone, right? I think there's a way to weave in fitness in your life in a sustainable manner that might not encompass you losing a ton of weight. I think people kind of have different stages in life where they're focusing on different things, and I think that's something I can completely respect.
Yeah. One thing I think this whole thing fluffed up is the fact that we're almost coming to the end. I think that because the majority of them said that they would prefer having a physique like Tyler, they should have had them ask a lot more questions towards Tyler because that is more their ideal physique. Because then maybe he would have been able to say something that helped enlighten them about what he does and stuff like that.
I was very curious, out of show of hands, who here feels like after spending time, you feel like you're closer to understanding the other side?
Yeah. A little surprised.
I understand it less.
We run the risk of it blowing open again, but this was a super, super interesting.
All right, that was a video. All right, so my thoughts realistically, if they had just replaced Myron, it probably would have been a much better and constructive conversation. I feel like he, even though a lot of his points did have like merits in there, he just caters it in just such a dickhead way. But overall, interesting video. Let me know what your thoughts are below.